Untap, upkeep, and welcome back to the channel if you've been here before, and if you haven't, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy our show for you today, as we have quite the interesting one, I think. And it's kind of inspired by one of our local gamers at our LGS, who is trying to make this deck work to the best of his ability. I think he's trying to go kind of a Hydra theme with it. I didn't go the Hydra theme. I kind of went a little bit more focused with the commander just to try to see what it could do if you focused more on the commander itself versus the abnormal theme that you can do with him. Uh, I you could swap in some of the Hydras if you really wanted to do his version of the build and see what actually he's working with here, because his deck build is really interesting. Oh yeah, and in case you're wondering, yes, it is the Fluffy. He was hilarious in actual live venue, by the way. Great guy. So, with all the side distractions done, let's jump into this game, shall we say. And by game, I mean let's deck build and see what we've come up with. So, for this deck build, we are looking at the Byrke Long Ear of the Law. And shout out to our good friend and subscriber Garrett, who is part of the In Response team. He has been running this commander and normally gets very scary very quickly. He does a very good job of running this card. He really loves this card. So let's dive into why he likes this card so much, shall we? So for 6 mana, we get a 4/4 Rabbit Soldier. Not that great, right? Well, hold on. He has Vigilance. Okay, that's a bonus. That's something. And then he says, whenever Byrke Long Ear of the Law enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. This can include himself. And then whenever another creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it attacks, double the 1/1 counters on it. This is actually done as an attack trigger, but it gets done before anything else actually happens. So that's what we're focusing on, is being able to put 1/1 counters on all of our creatures, but mainly Byrke. And we really want to be able to give him some kind of evasion, because that's going to be the hardest part for him. He's going to eat kill spells, he's going to eat removal spells, or he'll get so big it won't matter because they can just chump block it for days. And I think that's the problem I've been seeing a lot with him running this deck, is Byrke can do really scary, funny things. He can get Byrke hilariously huge. But then I just chump block with a 0/1 Scion or a 0/1 Plant, and oh no. So I thought I would take a crack at it and see what I could do on a budget restriction, by the way. He has other cards that are outside of the little budget build I have here that definitely make the deck run a little bit better. I've actually included like 1 or 2 of those pieces because I've seen them myself and I know he has those cards. And I'll give an honorable mention to something that is not in the considering board, but can be. It's kind of an obvious thing. Can you guess what would be obviously included in a non-budget version of this deck? You have 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. It's doubling season. Come on, guys. So I tried to do about a $75 budget build on this one. If you exclude even the simple Mossborn Hydra, which we might as well talk about right here, it could immediately drop it down to a $75 budget deck. And, you know, there's another card you could cut to drop it even further than that, closer to about $50. So you could build this deck the way I have it, relatively easy, relatively cost effective, and be able to sit down and have some fun. Are you actually going to dominate and just, you know, train wreck people? I don't think so. Some decks are just naturally faster. Some decks just have naturally better synergies. But I think you can have a lot of fun building those decks. So let's talk about the Mossborn Hydra right away. So for 2 and a green, we get a 0/0 Trampling Hydra that says this creature enters the 1/1 counter, and then whenever a land you control enters, double the 1/1 counters on this creature. So, ideal world, we have enough mana dorks or whatever, we could drop this on turn 2. Turn 3, it's going to double its 1/1 counters to make it a 2/2. And then turn 4, if we don't play like Rampant Growth or something, we could potentially double it to a 4/4. Turn 5, we should be able to drop Byrke in the ideal world, and it would double it to an 8, and then we could attack with it because Byrke is going to say, hey, you're attacking with something that has 1/1 counters on it, double them. Now it's a 16/16 trampling beat stick. Ideal world, fantasy world, yeah, that's absolutely monstrous, and we love it. Reality, it's probably going to eat a kill spell very quickly, which is okay. We have other things that we want to live. So if it eats a kill spell, it's not the end of the world. It would just be one of those, how rude. But I understand. So let's dive in. We have a couple of things with the Outlast mechanic because they work really well with Byrke. So Abzan Battle Priest, for instance, is just a 4-drop 3/2, so it comes out before our commander. It itself has Outlast, and it says each creature you control with a 1/1 counter has a lifelink, so we're able to keep our life total up in case we're getting thrashed a little bit here. The Abzan Falconeer also has Outlast, is a 3-drop, so it comes out before the Battle Priest, and it says each creature you control with a 1/1 counter has flying. Uh-oh, now that means Byrke can fly over the battlefield and really deal some damage. Next up, Arbor Elf, just a cheap, efficient mana dork. My goodness, a foil one of those is really expensive. I did not know this. Wow. We have Armorcraft Judge, who's next in our list. It's a 4-drop that draws us cards for each creature we control with a 1/1 counter on it. Now, we can distribute the 1/1 counters that Byrke puts out, or we can focus it on just him. It kind of depends on what we need at the moment. Like, personally, I think if you had a couple of little dorks out and you had this in hand, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put like one on Byrke and like maybe another one on like a dork or something to draw a couple of cards. I guess it kind of depends on where you're at in the game. A really great piece to this deck is Arwen, Weaver of Hope. So each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional 1/1 counters on equal to her toughness. Excuse me. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me. I believe you can stack these triggers because you could do a similar thing with the Tannerez, the Simic Dragon from the Strixhaven set. I believe you can have Byrke come into play. His ability goes onto the stack, her ability goes onto the stack, and you can stack it so hers resolves last. So you could actually put 2 1/1 counters on the Weaver of Hope here, making her a whopping 4/3. And then Byrke's ability is done. So then now Erwin says, hey, you had a creature enter, put counters on equal to how strong my defense is. So then instead of just coming into play with 2 1/1 counters, he would come into play with 3 1/1 counters. So you can stack things if I'm not mistaken. Because I believe somebody told me you could do that with the Tannerez Quandrix deck that I have built, and it really, really interesting. I honestly didn't know you could do that. Like, I knew you could stack triggers. I didn't know that the ETB abilities, if they trigger multiple things, you can just go, well, I have priority. I'm the active player. I'm going to put them the way I want to because they aren't my triggers. Kind of things you know when you play enough Magic. But moving forward, we have Avison's Pilgrim and the Elvish Mystic. We might as well hit Finehorn Elves and Llanowar Elves. All of them are nice little mana dorks. The Skull Crawler comes into play. Put a 1/1 counter on a creature. It doesn't have to be ours, by the way, so we could actually maybe use that to our advantage. I'm not sure. It kind of depends. Then we move forward to its ability, which is why it's in the deck. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has the trample. So we like that. That means if Byrke can't get flying, he at least can have trample, and my god, can he punch like a brick house. I have seen him get huge in a game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a little spooky. He's definitely got a deck that, with Byrke at the helm, and if you focus it more on Byrke, it commands respect, and you better respect it, because if you don't, the long ear of the law is coming to get you. And he gonna get you so. Yeah, if you, yeah. I thought this would be a nice include as well. Dusk Legion Duelist. It's a 2-drop 2/2 vampire with the Vigilance. Not that great, except for the fact that every time he puts 1 or more counters on him, you get to draw a card. It only triggers once each turn. So even if it's a combination of Dustcrawler or Erwin or or one of the other effects that we have in here that put 1/1 counters on it, that's fine. It could get a 1/1 counter on it, and we could draw a card. And then if you do like the next card we're fixing to talk about, if you do its ability, it will draw us a card, or even with Byrke alone, letting it attack, doubling its counters, we get to draw a card. Card advantage is a huge thing in any form of Magic the Gathering. So for 2 mana, getting a 2/2 body that allows us to consistently draw cards, how could you not like it? And if you wanted to step it up, there's a new angel from Foundations that says whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it does a similar effect. Every time you get a 1/1 counter on it, you're able to draw a card. So you could actually find a way to put that in here too if you felt like it. We do have some lifelink synergy in here, so it wouldn't be a bad add if you're wanting to get a little bit more card draw. The next card I hinted at was the Defiler of the Vigor. So for 5 mana, we get a 6/6 Phyrexian Worm with the Tramples. You could pay 2 life instead to help cast spells that are permanents with green mana in their pips. So, and if we, for whatever reason, we were cut off on green source, or we just need that extra green source, we could pay 2 life to cover for one of the pips and be able to still cast our spells, such as like Byrke. And then he says, whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So all of our stuff. In other words, if we play the Duelist and we played Vigor and then we play Byrke, everything gets a 1/1 counter on him. This is going to be before Byrke actually hits the battlefield. This is on a cast trigger. So even if it's a counter spell that hits Byrke, we still get that trigger onto the stack. But the bigger point to that is it will put a 1/1 counter on our Duelist, and we're able to draw another card. Conclave Mentor, whenever one or more counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1 are put onto it instead. So then Byrke would come in, he could put 2 1/1 counters on himself. With this out, he actually gets 3. And then whenever he goes to attack, he doubles. So instead of getting just 6, this says, oh, okay, we'll put an additional 1, so now he gets 7. Just some nice little synergy pieces there. Beast Whisperer, every time we cast a creature spell, we get to draw a card. We have, including our commander, 29 creatures we are working with. I think we can do this. Envoy the Ancestors, another card from Outlast, but this one is from Modern Horizons 3. So for 3 mana, we get a 2/3 that says, modified creatures you control have lifelink. In order for a creature to be modified, it must be equipped with an equipment, enchanted by an aura, or have a 1/1 counter on it. Yeah. It means Byrke Boy and a couple other pieces here, they can start gaining us some life, whether we attack or block. Evolution Witness. I really enjoy this card with anything that does 1/1 counters, because you can always put a 1/1 counter on it and get something back from your graveyard that's a permanent, including if you don't have a way to start getting 1/1 counters on it, you can just pay 2, put a 1/1 counter on it, and get something back. So it can be handy. Phineas, Ace, Archer. So for a white and a green, we have a 2/2 Rabbit Archer with Vigilance and Reach. That's always nice. And whenever he attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control that's a token or a rabbit. I don't really care too much about that part of the synergy. What we care about is, then if creature you control have a total power of 10 or greater, we get to draw a card. I'm here to tell you, Byrke gets huge really, really fast. And I do mean really, really fast. So if he's out before Byrke, and then we play Byrke, Byrke will get his 2 1/1 counters. And if it survives until the next turn, he goes from being a 6/6 going to the attacks. Now he's a 12/12, and we can draw a card, because we can stack these triggers as well. They are both attack triggers, so we can actually stack it. So Ace here will see the 10 power as a check after we resolve Byrke. Pretty nice. Forgotten Ancient, just a staple in anything that does 1/1 counters. Every time somebody plays a spell, we're able to put a 1/1 counter on it. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, we can put any number of them onto any creature we want. Good Fortune Unicorn, just a nice little synergy piece. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. This is a fun piece that he has in his actual build. Our good friend Garrett here does some really nasty things with Aldrich. This is better known as Keyword Soup. because at the beginning of every combat, not just yours, it is everybody's combat. Creatures you control gain any of the following. If a creature you control has any of these following, all of them will get it, as long as Audric is out. They can gain First Strike, Flying, Death Touch, Double Strike, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Skulk, Trample, and Vigilance. So, even something as simple as the Mossborn Hydra, if we play it after Byrke, and Byrke can attack, and let's say Audric managed to survive a board clear or whatever, in our happy little Christmas land we are doing here, then all of our stuff now has the trample. So we really enjoy having Audric. We enjoy seeing Audric. He helps enables us to punch through with our commander and start dishing out punishment of the law. Kutsul. I love Kutsul. If you've watched other videos, you know I talk about this card all the time. It is a great card to add in anything that is white-green or white-green X, because your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Plain and simple. I said no. And then whenever one or more creatures you control with power greater than its base power deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are a 1/1 counter deck. We are going to trigger this if we're able to connect, because all of our stuff is got potential to be bigger than what it already was. We have the ability to put 1/1 counters on all sorts of our creatures and just keep our pain train going. Kamiya Whispered Hopes is a double-edged sword in this deck. It's a wonderful mana dork that says tap at X mana of any one color, where X is this thing's power, and its static ability is what we really like. So if one or more 1/1 counters will be put on a permanent you control, that many +1 counters are put on it instead. So again, Byrke, kind of like with our Conclave Mentor Art there, every time we cast Byrke, he will put 2 1/1 counters on something, or a 1/1 counter and a 1/1 counter on 2 things. And if you do it that way, then those 2 things are getting they're getting 2 1/1 counters. So they become 2, 2, and 2, 2, more than what they originally were. If you do it on just Byrke himself, well, Byrke gets 3 1/1 counters instead of just 2. So yes, we like this. We like this a lot. Hamza makes a really interesting, really hilarious commander, and works really good in this deck too, if I do say so myself. So this spell costs 1 last to cast for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. It's already for a white and a green for a 5/5 Elefante warrior, but then it has another ability. So before we get to the other ability, this just means if it's later in the game or we're having trouble getting enough spells out, we can always drop this big dumb idiot and get ready to laugh, because creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on them. Yeah, yep. Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. We like that. We also have the Pride Malkin. So when it enters, you can put a 1/1 counter on a creature we control, and then anything with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. We like that. Renata, her power and toughness equal to the devotion of green. We don't really care. What we care about is, excuse me. All right, which one of y'all yawned? I know one of y'all did. One of y'all yawned. Y'all had to yawn. Why? Interrupt my speech. Interrupt my video for a yawn. Now let's try this again, shall we? This is Renata, called to the hunt. So she has a devotion to green that gives her power, which we kind of care about, kind of don't. Depends if she has trample or not. More importantly, though, she says each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So this ties very well with our synergies, and we enjoy every second of it. Then we, of course, have the Indestructible Squirrel, who must attack every single turn, cannot be countered, is indestructible, and says the following: whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. It's not a may, it's a must, so that is a little bit of a downside, but that is okay. Most people just chump block the Indestructible Squirrel. Gonna be kind of hard to do if he starts getting a little bit big with Audric on the battlefield, giving him flying, trample, vigilance, death touch, and God knows what else we have in this deck. It could be an absolute nightmare, and we love every second of it. Last but not least, we have one last piece of Outcast. This is a 3-drop for a 2/3 that says each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has the tramples. Again with the yawns. Would y'all please kindly stop yawning? I'm trying to explain a deck to y'all. Thank you. Thank you very much. The show must go on. The show must go on. Okay, anyway. So we are, as you can see, we are trying to fill a couple of ways with Byrke to be able to punch through. He can get big, and that's great. I love that about Byrke. But the problem is being able to finally just crash through and end the game. That seems to be a big problem with this card, and I decided to take a spin on this and try to fix that a little bit while being on a budget. So let's take a look at our sorceries. We really need another board wipe. I haven't quite figured out which board wipe I want to put in here. So for right now, we're only running Austere Command, so we can just blow up the entire world if we feel like we need to. We are running Cultivate, Rampant Growth, Farseek, Kadamas Reach, and Nature's Lord, all to help us ramp. Our commander does cost 6 mana, so we do need the help in the ramp department. Harmonize, Rishkar's Expertise are both great sources of card draw. Harmonize will give us 3 cards, but Rishkar's Expertise can give us a whole lot more because it's equal to the biggest thing we have on the battlefield, which usually is going to be Byrke. Could be a couple other things, but usually it's going to be Byrke. Byrke's going to be like the big thing on the battlefield. Be careful though, you could draw yourself out. However, you could get very lucky because this has another part to the text. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, let's go ideal world of Byrke being, I don't know, a 12-12. We're going to draw 12 cards. We have a handful of creatures on the battlefield. I don't know, 6, 7, maybe 8, including Byrke. We could draw into Overwhelming Stampede, y'all. And we could cast it for free using Expertise. Now, that doesn't mean it's not, a spell that it's not a spell that cannot be countered. So let's get that right. What it does mean is we can cast it for free. So we have other mana open. But why? Why would we want to cast this card, y'all? If you haven't seen it before, listen up. Overwhelming Stampede. For 3, a green and a green, we get a sorcery that says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample. Okay, we like that. Byrke needs the trample. Well, what else does it do? Well, it says they also get a +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. I'm sorry, do what? Yes, you heard that right. So, if Byrke is, for instance, a 12 power creature, and we have 7 other creatures on the battlefield that are, I don't know, 1/1s. Let's do hypothetical. They're all 1/1s, except for Byrke, who is huge. Now they all get 12, 12, and trample. So now we have 7 13 powered, 13 defense, trampling creatures, and Byrke is now a 24/24 beat stick with trample. We're going to win. Short of there being an Aetherize or some kind of kill spell, if everything were to go in the magical Christmas land where people were tapped out, we're not playing at the power level where there's free counter magic or free kill spells, we should have that game. I should be killing somebody with commander damage, and while the other 2 guys or girls or non-binaries, whichever one you are, they're probably going to die too, because that is, we could even keep one back and send 3 and 3 apiece. Later in the game, that should be enough to deal with, depending on what they have as well. But in an ideal Christmas land, oh yeah, we should be killing somebody. We're only running 8 instances. We have a few pieces of interaction, not too many. There's Beast Within, Stroke of Midnight, Generous Gift, Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile. They all get rid of things in our way. And the Beast Within, Gift, and Midnight can deal with other problematic permanents we might be facing. Inspiring Call, we get to draw a card for each creature we control with a 1/1 counter on, and then all of them gain Indestructible Squirrel until end of turn. Squirrel, oh. No, they gain Indestructible until end of turn. It's really nice. But they basically become indestructible squirrels. Kind of funny. Snakeskin Veil can protect Byrke if we absolutely have to. It's just a single green mana to be able to put a 1/1 counter on target creature we control, and then it gains hexproof until end of turn. so we can immediately shut all of that shenanigans down. The other big source of card draw is Return of the Wild Speaker because Byrke is not a human, so however big he is, we draw that many cards. Or if we felt the need to be able to punch through for just enough damage, we could always tap 5 mana and instant speed. So after blockers, before damage, all of our stuff can get a +3/+3 as long as it's not a human, and that might be enough to close out a game. Going on down our list, we have our artifact section, which is pretty standard ramp, I think. We have all the signets, the soul ring, we have the boots, thought vessel just in case for some no max hand size, the lens, the stone, and even a Wayfarer's bubble just to make sure we can get our mana up and running and start going to town with killing everybody and our good friend Byrke, bringing down the law on all of our foes. This is where it's going to get interesting. This is our enchantment package. Of course, Branching Evolution doubles the 1/1 counters, so that could be quite funny with Byrke. You double them and then you double them again. Hardened Scales, most people know what Hardened Scales is. Every time it gets a 1/1 counter on a creature, it puts an additional 1. And Garruk's Uprising over here, whenever we play it, if we control a creature power 4 or greater, we're going to draw a card. Whenever something power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under our control, draw a card. Again with the yawning. Again. Sad face, yo. Anyways, the bottom half of this card might trigger some, might trigger not that much, but that's okay. What we really care about is the fact that it gives our entire battlefield trample, so that enables Byrke to start punching through for some damage, as well as some of the other cards in our deck. Rancor is a reusable enchantment because whenever Rancor is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put it back into our hand. So we pay a mana, put this on Byrke. Byrke now has the tramples, and he gets an additional +2, +0. And we just start turning him sideways like he's supposed to. Which, by the way, he has vigilance, so we can attack with him, and he could be like a 12-power beat stick. Well, in this case, he'd be a 14-power beat stick. And then we still have him as a blocker. And if something happens to him, like he dies, gets removed, or whatever, we get the Rancor back into our hand. Because if the creature dies, it falls off, goes to the graveyard, and then this thing says, hey, I went to the graveyard from the battlefield. I would like to come back and do it again. I thought this would be a nice include for some synergistic card draw. So this is Stocking Pantry. I really think some people are sleeping on this. There are way better sources of card draw, but in a budget-friendly build, or even, just a very, very 1/1 counter build, I think this card's being overlooked. So for a green mana, whenever one or more 1/1 counters will be put on a creature we control, put a supply counter on the Stocking Pantry. Then we can pay 2, remove a supply counter from it, and draw a card. Just some decent little draw card synergy out of here. I really, really like it in this kind of style of a deck where everything's got 1/1 counters on it. I really feel it's a little underrated, and people are kind of sleeping on it, honestly. And I get it. The talent is like a monstrosity, but I really feel this is a very good card. Next up, something from the Bloomburrow Commander Precon, which is a little hard to find, but if you could find it or get this card just by ordering the single, this is Thickest in the Thicket. So for 5 mana, we get an enchantment that says when it comes into play, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is that creature's power. So we can make our boy Byrke even more big, even more swole. Because then, at the beginning of our end step, draw 2 cards if you control the creature with the greatest power or tied for the greatest power. We should almost always have the biggest thing on the battlefield thanks to Byrke. This should be very, very, very seldomly a question that we have to worry about here. Apologize, apparently I am Voodoo Dragon of the Sniffles instead of Magic the Gathering. Finally, this is another big card that you could cut from the deck if you don't have it or not able to get it, and drop your budget by almost another $15. So it could almost get you down to a $50 budget. This is Court of Garenbrig. So for 2 green mana and 1, this comes into play and we become the Monarch. This enchantment now says at the beginning of each upkeep, distribute 2 1/1 counters among up to 2 target creatures that we control. So we could put 2 1/1 counters on a couple of things, but what we really care about is the last ability, y'all. And that is, if you're still the Monarch, double the 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Y'all, this hurts. This hurts a lot. And our original deck builder and dear friend, viewer, and submitter of the subscriber of the channel, Garrett, does have this card, and I think it's a great card to have for this deck. So if you have it, throw it in. If you don't have it, maybe you could trade for it. Maybe you could buy it. It really helps the deck run a lot better, I think, because it's essentially a pre-combat version of our commander, and the monarchy gets introduced, meaning we could draw even more cards. Because we should have the biggest thing. It's unlikely we won't. We are very susceptible to some board clears, some board wipes, things like that, and I'll cover that here in a minute. Our mana base is pretty standard. We have 20 total basics. We're running even a reliquary tower to be able to make sure that we have no max hand size. Our single piece of land destruction, always included in every deck I build. The Bunder's Enclave, we can tap it to draw a card if we control a creature power 4 or greater. Our commander is already a 4 power, so that's easy enough to get up and running. And of course, all of your budget-friendly dual lands are in here, especially since the release of Dragonstorm Tarkir or Tarkir Dragonstorm, whichever way you prefer to say it. They have really knocked down the pricing on a lot of these lands, and we really couldn't be more thankful, honestly, as Magic players. I mean, yeah, we all want to be able to say, look at my expensive card, isn't it cool, isn't it sweet? Yeah, we all want to be able to do that, but at the same time, we all have to remember this is a overall children's card game that a whole wide variety of people play from walks of life and age groups. So we always have to remember it is overall a game. Don't treat it like it's actual money, people. It's not. Just remember that, because I personally love the fact that things like this Canopy Vista, for instance, are below 25 cents. You can go buy 10 or 20 of these, and I don't know why you would, but you would have enough to build anything that's white, green, X, or white, green for a deck. And I really enjoy knowing that. So last but not least, before we get to the considering, our mana curve, as you can see, is pretty low. We're pretty high on our 1s, 2s, and 3s. Our 4, 5s, and 6 mana, we're very, very low on that. So the deck is pretty low to the ground. It wants to get up, get running, and just start doing its thing. So we enjoy every second of that. I would actually mulligan that hand. Looking at a quick, simple hand, this hand's not horrible. We could drop Phineas. Even drop the Crawler, Boots, Evolution. We're not going to get our boy out here in a minute, so that's kind of concerning. Yeah, it'd be a minute before we got him out. So that hand looked good, but apparently our draw's going to be absolute dog doo. Who knew? So if we kept this one, we could help ramp and get into our commander, which I do like. So our turn 1 is our only tap land. Turn 2, we could tap it to cast a Soul Ring and a Signet. We can ramp, play our elf, and probably ramp more. So not bad. And we have board wipe in our hand in case things get a little scary. So that last hand was pretty sweet, I think. And as with any deck, you can upgrade this thing to the moon if you felt like it. It just depends what kind of budget you're working with and pretty much what you want to do with it. But I will expand our considering board real fast to give you an idea of some of the things that you could swap into this deck and really start hammering things. First up is none other than our boy Bristlebale. Yeah, Bristlebale. So for 2 mana, we get a 2/2 legendary plant druid. That says landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Great, love it. But then for 3, a green and a green, we can double all the 1/1 counters on our creatures. And by the way, that is at instant speed, so you could do that in response to like a blasphemous act. And if that would be enough to get your stuff out of danger, then you could do that. Now he is on the very pricey end at $40, almost $45. Another one from a Bloomberg Commander Recon is the Jacked Rabbit. So for X, a white, and a colorless, we get a gigantic rabbit boy that says, whenever Jacked Rabbit attacks, create a number of X of 1/1 rabbit creature tokens equal to Jacked Rabbit's power. And if we make X 5 or more, Ravenous will trigger, so we'll be able to draw a card when it comes into play. So essentially, if it wasn't the fact we're going very budget friendly with this deck, it would be in the main deck anyway, just because for 3 mana we get a 2/3 Rabbit Warrior that whenever it attacks, we're going to make some bodies. But then when Byrke is on the battlefield, we're able to start doubling all those counters and just make a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger army. So it's not the end of the world. It's not like the most backbreaking card, but if you needed to try and go wide as well and just truly dominate a battlefield, you could. Colonial Hydra kind of does the same thing that our commander does. Whenever it attacks, it's double the 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Now, if you had this in the main board with your commander, it doubles and then doubles again, and it's disgusting, y'all. We have Railroad Brawler is our last card in our creatures section. Has reach, trample, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put X 1/1 counters on it where X is its power. We can even plot it for 4 mana and cast it for free on the next turn or the turn after that or the turn after that whenever we need to. So probably right before we're going to cast Byrke, cast this for free, cast Byrke, and just go ham. As far as cuts and what you would do to add some of these cards, I think I'm going to let that be your decision based on how your playgroup is. Moving forward, we have Damning Verdict, one of the most popular and very, very expensive board wipes. So it just simply says destroy all creatures with no 1/1 counters on them. It's a one-sided board wipe. All our stuff has 1/1 counters on it, and that's all we care about. Everything has 1/1 counters, it's all protected, and bam, we're just going to nuke the battlefield. Season of Gathering is another really good card for this deck, and it's a little bit outside the budget at $5. So it says when you could pick any number of total of 5 paw prints. You could put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. It gains vigilance and trample to end a turn. We like that. That could turn Byrke into an absolute death nail. We could choose 2 paw prints to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And we can make it all of the chosen type, so we destroy all artifacts or destroy all enchantments. And then finally, for 3 paw prints, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So that alone can allow us to draw a bunch of cards from our boy Byrke. Next up, we have some instant speed protection with Dawn's Truce, Flawless Maneuver, Heroic Intervention, and of course, the TP Teferi's Protection. All of these protect our board, and all of them are relatively low on the mana cost. Flawless Maneuver with Byrke out is actually free, so we have some ways if you feel like you're just getting a little steamrolled by some very heavy removal, you could always try some of these into the deck and see how that will fare better or not. Last but not least, we are almost done. The Ozolith, of course, every time counters leave something, they put onto the Ozolith, and Ozolith can put all those counters on something else. And then finally, we have Innkeeper's Talent, which, if you've played any kind of standard here recently, it is ridiculously broken, completely what the heck card. And then Tribute to the World Tree. Tribute to the World Tree allows us to draw cards if our creature's got 3 or greater power, or we could put 2 1/1 counters on it if it's weaker than 3. Back to the talent, though, if you've never seen it, it comes into play with a level 1 counter, and you can level it all the way to 3. So at the beginning of your combat, your turn, put a 1 counter on target creature you control. Fine, great. If you make it level 2, tournaments you control with counters on them have Ward 1. So now it costs you an additional mana to target our boy Byrke or any of our stuff with single spot removal. And then if you finally get this thing up to level 3, which is where it gets really disgusting, if you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many counters of the kind onto that permanent or player. That means if we were to double, we get to double again, and it'll be all she wrote, guys. It'll be all she wrote. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to swap in, what to swap out. That is going to be kind of a play call meta, or even so much as a simple, you're playing through the deck and you're trying to, you're figuring out, okay, this card didn't work for me and it was a dead card in my hand. What do I need to make this run and do what I need it to? So adjust it as you see fit. Pardon me. With that said, I believe I'm going to call this video to a close, and I would like to know what you think. What do you think of Byrke, the long ear of the law? Are you going to be on his side and bring justice to the city as he keeps peace among the animal folk? Or are you going to be in this rabbit's way? Are you going to be in his way? Huh? Huh? You going to be in his way? I think you are. I think you're going down too. Because the long ear of the law is coming. I have been the Buddha Dragon. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about Byrke. I think he's a hilariously great commander. I love seeing Garrett at our LGS play the deck. He's in love with it, and he's fine-tuning it more every single day. So don't forget to check him and his fellow teammates over on In Response on their Twitch, and be sure to catch some live gameplay videos. Give them some love, show them some love, let them know I sent you, and hey, show me some love too, y'all. Everyone that has already liked, shared, subscribed, rings that bell, and just shows me all the love. Just know I love y'all. Thank you, and I couldn't do this without you. But I've been the Buddha Dragon. Rub that bell for mana, and may your games be filled with magic and luck. Until the next one, let's go.